Hello viewers, welcome to Sunday Politics on Trust Television. I am Ali M. Ali, your host. Well, a new word has crept into the nation's political lexicon. The word is not local, it's not even indigenous, it is global. However, at home, it is seen as an alien, quote unquote, within the context of the nation's politics. The word is placeholder. It has assumed, if you like, a cacophonous dimension, since some of the presidential flag bearers in the 2023 election named their running mates as placeholders to meet the deadline for submission of running mates set by the electoral body. You might want to ask, what is placeholder? Who is a placeholder? Well, Collins English Dictionary came to the rescue. It defines the word differently, though, within a context. In government, according to the dictionary, a placeholder is a person who holds a government position, government office, especially one appointed to the position in return for political support or favors. Now, in business, a placeholder means something different. It says, that is Collins Dictionary now, someone who occupies a position on behalf of someone else, such as a deputy during the absence of the superior officer. In mathematics, that's another context. A placeholder is defined as a section of a text that is placed in a document, etc., etc., temporarily until the final text is inserted there at a later stage. Well, you can see different definition depending on the context. But joining me today to discuss the legal and political dimension of placeholder today is Chuks Uhebe, a lawyer and a veteran journalist. He's also the director of publication at National Pilot. Chuks, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, good to be here.
Well, viewers, we take a quick break, and when we come back, our guest will give us an insight to what is legal, the legal status of a placeholder. Stay tuned, don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Sunday Politics on Trust Television. Our guest is Chuks Uhebe, a lawyer and a veteran journalist, also director of publication at Nigerian Pilot. We are discussing the legal and political implication of a placeholder. Now, Chuks, how legal is a placeholder? How legal is it?
Thank you very much. That's a question that may not get a straightforward answer, because if you go through Nigeria, first and foremost, let's put the record straight. Nigeria is being run by a body of laws. So for the elections, they have the Electoral Act 2022 as amended, but there is a superior law, which is our Constitution, 1999 Constitution as amended. Both the subsidiary legislation, which is the Electoral Act, and the superior law, which is the Constitution, there is no place there that word is used, placeholder.
So why did it get its or? I would
want to believe that it's a smart interpretation by politicians just to suit what they want to do. They only interpreted provisions of sections 29 and section 33 of the Electoral Act 2022 that talks about substitution of a candidate within a specific time before the election.
So when they say placeholder, because like the definition given here now,
yes,
are they politicians, are they being, clever now by saying placeholder? You are holding a place.
Absolutely, it is that. It's an interim it's a stopgap. It's not the main person who's going to be there. That's the simplest definition one can give it. Given the time frame given by the Electoral Act, they will be able, or the candidate will be able to bring a running mate. Don't forget that Section 142 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, or rather, let's start from Section 141, that says that there shall be an office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, by our Constitution, that is very clear. But Section 142 says that the presidential candidate of any political party to qualify to run for an election must have a running mate. So it is the prerogative of the presidential candidate of any political party to so submit the name of who is going to be his running mate. But let's come down to a subsidiary legislation, which is the Electoral Act.
Now,
if you read from Section 29, 31, 33, it talks about substituting within a specific time. So that when you put somebody, like what happened in the past few weeks after the party primaries,
yes,
a party like APC, Nigerian Labour Party, New Nigeria Political Party,
Nigeria
they all
Party.
could not bring, and some other party, they could not bring substantive, so they brought in somebody in the interim. So there is a time frame. But the Electoral Act says such a person whose name is submitted as a space holder, for you to replace the person on his own will have to do a letter, write a letter, go to a court, depose to an affidavit that he is voluntarily, yes, that word, voluntarily withdrawing. And he will now submit that letter to his political party. His party will now submit it to INEC. INEC will take note of it and now accept a replacement.
Okay, this is quite interesting because most people, I mean, they are lost between, like you said, the primary body of laws, like the Constitution, for example, now, and then, like you said, the subsidiary, the Electoral Act. People would say, well, when you have something like this, the primary body of law would take precedence over the over the subsidiary. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that the Constitution is superior to this. Section 3 of our Constitution says that any law that is made that runs contrary to the provisions of the Constitution is null and void.
Yes.
So, to the level of this of the nullity of what is contained in this Electoral Act, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria holds sway. So, when you put these two laws side by side, the Electoral Act is subsidiary to our Constitution. So the provisions of the Constitution hold sway.
I see.
In this matter, the principal person there is the candidate. The candidate, by the powers conferred on him, by the provisions of Section 142 of the Constitution, reserves the right, because he cannot be legitimately qualified to contest the election without a running mate. Therefore, he reserves the right to forward the name of who is going to be his running mate. And if you come now to the subsidiary legislation, he could not get the right person he wants within the specific period. And there's a deadline for him to submit a name. So they were free to submit any name. Within that time frame, they have to, that's before 180 days before the election, they have to get a change. In the event that even the flag bearer of the party, the candidate, there's a happenstance that the person dies or something happens like that way, and INEC investigates the cause of death and is convinced that, yes, this person is no more, the party reserves the right to still change its flag bearer and hold a primary election within 2 weeks that INEC will monitor and to have a change. So all these things are laid out there. Let's not get carried away by the name given to this office, space holder or whatever name is called. It's just to get by. And our electoral laws and our politics is still evolving. And we are making some progress.
Now, still talking about the the choice before a flag bearer now, in choosing a running mate now. Now, if you look at it constitutionally speaking, is it the right, the individual right of the flag bearer to choose a running mate now?
Yes, if you go back to Section 142 again, it is his prerogative to choose his flag bearer. But what happens is that because the political parties is a human organization, to carry everybody along, you may have to, the flag bearer may have to, concede to, you look at the country, does this suit? If I pick from the north, if I pick another person from the north of the same faith, can it work for me? Because at the end of the day, you have to strike a balance. Take, for instance, in the PDP. What the PDP did was that, what Atiku Abubakar, the flag bearer of PDP, did was that he allowed the party to set up a committee to nominate for him who is going to be his flag bearer. But it is not binding, because you and I know that at the end of the day, it was not the person that was recommended for him that he announced. So at the end of the day, it still goes back to the provisions of 142 that he is the candidate and he reserves the right. So all these things being done is just to carry everybody along when it is most important.
If you recall, maybe you are on the same page with perhaps the National Independent National Electoral Committee when a couple of days ago it said that the idea of a placeholder is alien. Is that right?
If you go by the words, what is contained in the Constitution, it appears to be, it's alien, because if you search through the Electoral Act and the Constitution, you cannot see any word or any phrase like that. I told you when we started this that it appears that it's an interpretation by the political class to suit what they want to do, extrapolating from sections 29 to 33 of the Electoral Act. It was just an interpretation, a sitting person, a temporary person, an interim person, whichever term you want to use. That means that within the specific time, the person can be substituted. But that does not in any way mean that when anybody goes to court on this, that the person is going to, that the court is going to say that, well, because of the name you're giving to this, that we are going to strike it out. No, I don't think so.
Well, Chuks, from what you've explained so far, I'm persuaded to think that is what the flag bearers of some of these parties done is perfectly legal. Is that what you're saying? It's perfectly within the ambit of the law.
Especially insofar as the only hindrance there is the time frame. Once they'll be able to get a permanent person within the time frame, I do not think there's any obstacle.
Interesting. Now, before we go on a break, viewers, we want you to perhaps we will discuss the legal implication of this. And clearly it's within the ambit of the law. Nothing has been done to violate all the extant laws now. Now, before we go on a short break, and I want you to ponder this, perhaps when we return, about the political implication, perhaps, to this novel, if you like, idea. Viewers, we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, our guest would give us perhaps the political dimension of having a placeholder. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
To every politician, as the campaigns gain momentum and passions begin to rise, remember, the errors of your opponents do not make you a success. Do not run down your opponent and inflame passions to violence between and among your supporters. What counts is what you plan to do for the electorate and how you intend to relieve their sufferings and bring succor. Nigeria is in dire need of patriotic leaders at all levels, leaders who will make national development their priority. Concentrate on telling the electorate what you intend to do when you get into office. Focus on making your vision clear to the electorate. Don't engage in verbal abuses, fake news or speeches. Keep dealing with issues that will bring progress. You win the hearts and minds of the people by being above board, by being civil, patriotic, and showing empathy. Let's join hands to make the 2023 elections peaceful. A message from the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. In case you are just tuning in, you are watching Sunday Politics on Trust Television. And our guest is Chuks Uhebe, a lawyer and journalist who have been discussing the legal implication of a placeholder. And before we went on that break, he explained that it's perfectly in order, no law is violated. Now, Chuks, now we've discussed the legal dimension to this. Now, what's the political dimension now? A lot of people will say that when you can't, within that specified period, submit a running mate, some say it's a notional maybe commitment to actually walking a talk of perhaps repositioning the country or rescuing the country. Look at the campaign slogan of some of those who are now caught in this dilemma of having a placeholder. How do you react to that, political?
The Electoral Act once again laid out the procedure, meaning that the space holder has to be willing, unprompted, put in writing, deposit an affidavit, give to his party, the party now submit. If he fails to do that, you can't change him.
That's quite...
So let's have that one at the back of our mind. But I do not think that, I pray that they will just be gentlemen enough to abide. And
But we've seen that, but let me just slightly take you aback. This large cocktail of sort that you say, affidavit, willingness to step down on your own without no prompting. We've seen that some staying put in withstood pressure to step down after the presidential primaries, for example. They're clinging tight to what they thought, especially one that comes to the fore, that is in the public domain, is the senatorial constituency of the Senate President himself. The man who won the primaries is staying put, but then the party went ahead to submit the name of, at least what we've seen on the pages of newspapers, submit the name of the President of the Senate, and then that of former Minister of Niger Delta also. Now, looking at that, how would that stand? Before you answer the other question.
The way it has played out for Yobe North and somewhere in Akwa Ibom.
Yeah.
And the party, whether the big stick to submit names of the thing is that the same Electoral Act is saying that for your name to be recognized by INEC, you know that INEC is mandated to monitor all these primaries.
Yes.
So if you did not participate in any primary, you cannot be a beneficiary of the outcome of that process. So it appears that at the end of the day, I hope my hunch is right, INEC is going to wear the big stick, and if the party goes ahead to present persons who did not participate in the primaries, at the long run, it's very obvious the party will lose the ticket.
Oh, there won't be any candidate in those constituencies we identified?
Well, even if the person they submitted his name or her name stands in for election, and someone goes to court to say that this person did not participate in the primaries, and it is proven before the court of law that he or she did not participate in the primaries, he will lose his seat. He will lose the ticket.
Well, this promises to be very interesting. Now, to the question before we went on break and then we return. Now, the inability of some of these parties to submit a substantive running mate to the electoral body. What does it, I mean, how did these parties come across, especially given the downturn tax before and some of the, if you like, lofty goals some of the presidential flag bearers set for themselves and for their parties?
Actually, we monitor the run-up to their primaries. Most of them were hectic, the APC owned, but one had thought that the thing is that getting the ticket is one thing. Another thing is that you must have to consult very well, because you are getting the ticket. The next aim is for you to win the election, to become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is not it's not something. It's not a tea party. So consultations must take place. So it appears that because they delayed in holding their primaries, it wasn't easy for him to do enough consultations.
Well, some people point at the PDP, for example, from day one. The PDP, the first time, or like the APC, the PDP was able to conduct its primaries at schedule without seeking for extension. A lot of people actually said when APC actually was not prepared to conduct its primaries.
Why I can excuse a party like Labour Party for their shortcomings because of it's quite a new party. They are just trying to find their way. I cannot have the same excuse for APC.
What about the NNPP? Some people also point out in the direction.
NNPP is just coming up. They have the same problem with Labour Party. But that excuse cannot hold for a party like APC. You see, APC has had this structural problem over time. They've had so many change of their National Working Committee. And in the end, you discover that the party, all the structures that are supposed to be in the party to make sure that all the organs are there, to make sure that things are working well, are not there. As we speak, for 8 years now, APC does not have a National Executive Committee. Don't forget that it took Mr. President's intervention and to inform the party members that the powers of NEC, which does not exist in the first place, it exists only on paper, had been transferred to NWC, and everything that the national chairman of the party can take the decision of NEC. It doesn't happen that way. So a lot of things, they have to sit down and put all the structures in place, and there are so many crises in the party. So remember that Senator Abdullahi Adamu was formerly chairman of the peace, one of the peace
reconciliation
committee.
Yes,
committee.
Yeah,
He didn't quite finish that job before he was brought in. You know how he emerged as the national chairman of the party. So all these things are playing out. But the thing is that it is no longer his responsibility who becomes the running mate to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is Bola Ahmed Tinubu's sole personal responsibility. He has to consult why, he has to look at the country, how fragmented the country is, and what will suit the country post-2023 before he picks whoever he wants to pick. But if he feels confident running with the space holder, well, time will tell. The same thing happened to Peter Obi. I don't see him running with Okupe. Okay?
Yeah.
Both are from the south, both are Christians, and he needs to look up north, from the Muslim north. For Kwakwanso, it's still the same thing. He has to look down. We don't know what is happening, the level of relationship between the Labour Party and NNPP. At the fullness of time, we begin to think there's still time, but the thing is that there's a timeline that they must abide with.
Well, now that you mentioned about this very complex matter of balancing the ticket, and also be mindful of certain sensitivities, and if you like, even sensibilities. Now, you did mention that if you look at the ticket of the Labour Party, where you have Doyin Okupe as a running mate to Peter Obi, incidentally, both of them, belonging to same faith. Now, this is something that has been in the front burner about same faith ticket now. Now, do you think, perhaps why the foot dragging, especially in the APC, could be related to this dilemma, apart from what you've listed previously, not having a national executive council of the party for years, and then having to deal with its own internal wranglings, now bringing to this stage of its evolution, having this possibility of same-faith ticket.
Ali, the way Nigeria is configured presently, there's every need for Ahmed Bola Tinubu to look up north and see whether he can see a quality Christian to pair with him. So that, because this country is a delicate balance. But as a politician, he might be thinking of winnability and not whether you are balancing faith. Because at the end of the day, the race is who gets into Aso Rock first.
Exactly.
But it's a huge task for him because he may have some explanations to make. He's a Muslim from the Southwest. So if he gets somebody who is of a different faith from up north, that will balance it so that some persons need assurances that, look, it's our country, we all have the same benefits, the Constitution confers on all of us equal rights. So no faith should be looked down on the other. Therefore, that is for him to choose. That doesn't mean that if he comes up tomorrow to say that, look, I've searched, I've made up my mind, I've done my researches, it's same faith ticket I'm going to run. Good luck to him. It applies to the other candidates. Atiku has sorted out his own very fast. P2B must have to sort out his own. The same thing applies to Kwankwaso. It's just that the way 2023 is very important to Nigeria. It's very, very important to what happens thereafter. The youths are beginning to, there's a revolution going on. They are buying into what is going on. They are getting their PVCs. They want to live their own life. They want to take back the country. They want to determine how this country is going to proceed after 2023. And anybody who is not taking note of what is going on now in this country is not getting it very right. Because 2023 cannot be 2019 or 2015. These kids have been at home for four months, for instance, because of ASU strike and stuff like that. You look at the prices of foodstuff, they want to ask questions, and they are asking questions, they're not getting answers, so they want to use their PVCs to make a statement.
Well, do you think PVCs perhaps they would do that? Look at what happened in Ekiti now, where slightly digressing. Of the registered voters, less than 40% came out to vote. So how will getting a PVC now would change perhaps the equation?
No, they do. Something has to happen before the election. If INEC, I don't know whether they're extending or they're not going to extend, whatever happens, there must be a reawakening. Some agencies of government have to sit up. You know, we have National Orientation Agency. There should be conscientization. The civil society organizations, they have to up their game and begin. You know, in US, there's what they call getting out the voters. On election day, as the election is approaching, more persons should be conscientized. It's not just going to the market and begin to dash them some stipends. No, we say, this is what it is. This is your life. Whoever you're going to vote for now, at any level, will be your leader for the next 3 or 4 years. Therefore, you have to make up your mind. You have to come out. You have to determine. In Ekiti, it's unfortunate that they did not get out the voters.
Yes.
We had only about 30-35% of the votes. And
Chooks, I would really love you to conclude, but because of time, with this one, we have to end today's program. Thank you for coming around to our studios. Well, goodbye, viewers. We've come to the end of today's show. Thank you and goodbye.